reining in some increases, and where necessary, trimming back where you can. We've had a hiring freeze, we're gonna have to keep it. We've also had no increases in staff salaries, we're gonna have to keep that freeze on that. Thank you very much.
Mary Lou?
Thank you. Of course I agree on reasonable, wise spending and reining in the costs and stuff like that. I don't understand why my opponent voted against the budget that did not raise taxes and cut costs across the line. I don't understand why you would vote against that. Also, you know, my children have gone through the public school system, and I see what your taxes are doing for the school systems. And you know that a world education is only going to help the economy and have them being able to deal with the future, what we leave them. So, of course, we have to get the house in order. We have our own houses in order at the local level. We can do it. We have to do it up in Harrisburg. But if you leave the same old in, it's not going to happen. So, of course, we have to cut costs. And, hiring freeze and pay freezes, my opponent voted at the midnight to raise her own salary at the midnight hour. So, we have to have more open government, and we can't just be, raising our own salaries when everybody's sleeping. So that's my thing.
Stewart, I think we go to you now. Oh, it's, yeah.
Okay. I got up on the Senate floor and talked about this one evening, and I think it's important to recognize that we have been increasing spending since 1980. We went back to 80 until the present, and we were increasing spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Every year we had a surplus from that period of time until 2 years ago. Some of them were $1 billion in excess money, because all of our taxes are indexed. So as a result, we receive extra money as the economy expands. When it fails to expand, then that money's fail to materialize. And 2 years ago, we had about $2 billion less. Last year, we had almost $2 billion. And so it's important for us to recognize that when we have that downturn, that we can't keep increasing our spending and increasing broad-based taxes without a consequence. I mean, there's a certain amount that people cannot no longer pay. They cannot longer pay the taxes, and especially when we're going through a downturn and a recession. If we can't curtail our spending and not pass an increase in tax in order to cover that increase in spending, then we're all in trouble. Because government then knows clearly that we can't control government, and government cannot control its ability to increase its spending. So what I would do also is, there is a solution, I think, to this, and there's a long-term and short-term solutions. But one of the things I think is important to do is to have early child intervention. If we can prevent children from going into these systems, for example, welfare, where they have children that needed aid and counseling, what happens is that we spend a lot of money on those children, and we should, but if we intervene early on in their lives, the statistics have shown, the Chicago statistic has shown, that it's successful, and in the long run will save their lives and also save money. I'm sorry, I'm out of time.
Thank you all.
Am I going to get a chance to say something?
Not right now, no.
I didn't answer this question.
No, we'll move. Oh, you did.
I did not answer the question,
I am
David.
sorry.
That's okay. I just want my fair time.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Stand up.
Okay.
You're all set. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Obviously, the deficit is a huge problem in Pennsylvania. And the way that I would like to, that is necessary, I believe, is to find additional revenue that we know that exists. I am a former treasurer of Cheltenham Township. I was also the controller, and I was the watchdog of all the monies. And one thing that I do believe in is tax fairness. If you and I are going to pay taxes, then everybody's going to pay their fair share. And that includes the drilling companies of the Marcellus Shale. We were promised as part of this, as part of this budget this year, by October 1st, that there was a tax placed in the budget, but there was not a specific amount. But it was supposed to be decided by October 1st. I must say the House did their job. They passed a tax. The Senate left last Thursday, recessed, and has not said they're not coming back till next year. They're taking a 2.5-month vacation on our taxpayers' dime as our revenues daily, every day, we are losing revenues. And guess who's going to make up the difference? It's you and I. We have a lot of loopholes. One loophole, we pay, it's very strange in Pennsylvania, we live in an unusual state. We pay taxes on cigarettes, we pay 0 taxes on cigars and smokeless tobacco. North Carolina pays taxes on cigars and smokeless tobacco, but not Pennsylvania. We need to have fairness in taxes. We need those millions of dollars. There's also a Delaware corporation tax loophole, which is about corporations, that if you're incorporated in Delaware, you don't pay all your taxes, even though you do all your business in Pennsylvania. There's another source of revenue. There's a vendor's discount on sales tax, that if you pay your sales tax on time, you get a discount of 15%. Now, you and I don't get a discount when we pay on time on April 15th, do we? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to make sure that we have adequate revenues before we look at cutting. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I started you late, Ruth.
That's okay.
Thank you. I think we're going to, we have time, so let me go back. One for you, Stewart. This looks like just the right thing for you. The merit appointment of judges. We hear ongoing news of some dysfunctional state and municipal court systems. While most judges perform well, there is apparent incompetence and corruption of others. Pennsylvania judges are elected via the popular ballot. Given that many, perhaps most other states have gone to a merit appointment system for judges, how would you respond if such a merit appointment system were proposed for Pennsylvania? And how would you see that it might be implemented?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. I think it's important to recognize that when the term is merit selection, but it's really political appointment. What will happen is the politicians in Harrisburg will be appointing your judges, and I personally feel that I trust the voters, not the politicians in Harrisburg, for making those decisions. In the federal system, they're appointed, and we see what happens in Washington is a big battle over their philosophy. Why is there a big battle on their philosophy? Because judges, and like I was the chief of appeals division of the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office, and I handled many, many appeals from the Superior Court, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, the federal courts, United States Supreme Court, and I know that the background of an individual, their experience, their life experience has an impact on their voting on those issues. You can see it in Washington when they battle over those issues because they know not that they're doing anything wrong, they're just voting what their philosophy is and what their life experience is. So I think it's important therefore for you as a voters to have an ability to evaluate that individual and determine whether you feel that their positions on not on specific issues, but on generally what they are. And what we have in Pennsylvania, we have a very good system. We have a system in which they have to run once, but then they don't have to really run again, except that 10 years later they have to have retention with no opponent against them, which would be great. I guess all of us would love to have that. And they run, and what happens is most of them, like 99% of them are always retained. So the security of it is there, their independence is there. I don't think it has anything to do with competency. I think it has nothing to do with their ethical standards. So that's the situations that you've described in in the state, which is horrible, and they are being removed, and I established a judicial conduct board that helped to do that, and will do that legislatively and otherwise, but I think it's important for us to have elected judges that you have a vote for.
Thank you, Stu. Ruth, you're back again.
Well, here's where we have a difference here. I happen to believe that merit judges, because I have seen, I've been a committee person for many years, it is very difficult to know which judges, what they stand for. In fact, in Pennsylvania, and I don't know if that's changed, they were not allowed to even discuss issues. When they went, they could tell you about their background and their personal selves and where they came from, but they could not talk about anything that they would discuss on the bench. So it's extremely difficult for the average person, even the knowledgeable person, to know who would be the right judge. Now, we've seen certainly in Philadelphia, it's not the judicial temperament, it's not the type of judge that you would be, but it's how much money you contribute to the party and whether you're able to run. And that, to me, is not the kind of system, judicial system, that I would want to have. The federal system, I believe, does work, that the appointed judges are a higher caliber in the federal system than in many cases that we do have here in Pennsylvania. So I would like to see that we should have merit judges that are appointed for merit reasons. Thank you.
Your turn, Kate.
I have a hybrid view. I actually believe that we did a good job electing judges last year in Montgomery County. We elected 7 new judges, 6 Republicans, 1 Democrat. And the Montgomery Bar Association had a website on which each candidate for judge, that would be 14 in all, did a video presentation of themselves. Nonpartisan, bipartisan, it was there if anybody wanted to see it. I have practiced before the judges in this court, and I think they're pretty good. So I think, at least at the local level, voters can do a good job in selecting judges. I would also point out, to Ruth's example, the federal bench, most of those guys first got elected in their local counties before they made it to the federal bench. Now, I'm a little less sure at the appellate level, Superior, Supreme, and Commonwealth Court. I think it's harder for voters across the Commonwealth to really get a feel for the judge and to vote for them, and that they really don't know, for sure what they're doing, or they don't know the candidates well enough to make good selections sometimes. Some voters have said that that's the way they feel. It's easier for lawyers because we actually know these people more often. So I'm not sure about the appellate level, but here's the rub. If somebody other than the voters picks those judges, and there's a good argument to be made for that, who's doing the picking? What I don't want to see is taking the selection process into the back room where political bosses make those picks, and that's what I'm afraid of. If we could find a system that would work,